The site itself, a battlefield, with old tin cans, tons of straw, polythene bags, discarded cartons, a virtual ocean of saturated litter.
And you know the type of people you're going to deal with. You'll find long-haired, sometimes dirty people. On their appearance, you might tend to take a dislike to.
Welcome everybody. We are in the sticks of Lincolnshire today. Apologies for the wind in advance. We'll try and get through it together, gang. Right. Pop festivals are a bit of a unclear topic of their history. You can date music festivals back, well, to as far back as you want to. But if we're talking about pop music, there's a lot of... If you googled pop festivals, the origins of pop festivals, they would probably say Monterey, California, 1967. I think that's the narrative people want because that was the summer of love and it would all fit nicely together, but it's not. If you googled the history of pop festivals in this country, you'll get the county ground in Nottingham claimed to be the first ever stadium festival, which again isn't right because Sinsel Bank in Lincoln in 1966, a year before, had a festival with the Kinks and the Who. So it's always a little bit debated where the history of, as we know, 20,000 people standing in a field, is this the way that they say the future's meant to feel? Name the song. It is debated. It is what was the first music festival. Woodstock again is another common answer. That's probably because it's the most famous one. Now, the European Woodstock is said to have been the Isle of Wight, and the Isle of Wight's a brilliant festival. The Doors headline it, and Jimi Hendrix. And if you've not checked out the Doors performance, I do recommend it. Out in sticks. I don't know where I'm going, as you will all know about me by now. I think over there. And the festival where we are, we're going to an abandoned ruin which once saw a infamous festival where I live, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And I guess most festivals do happen rurally and in the middle of nowhere, but I don't happen to drive past them every day. So we are going to have a look at the history of this festival, and it's a festival that's said to have been the end of the Woodstock years, which again I don't agree with. I'm not a musical historian. I have a very keen interest in old school music, but I think Isle of Wight's the end of the Woodstock years. Within that window, just after 2 weeks after the Isle of Wight, Jimi Hendrix died. Within a year, Jim Morrison was dead. The two superstars of that festival. And to me, that's what killed the Woodstock years. I think this festival was this one that we're going to now, which is 1972, was the beginning of a new era of music. I'm doing this quick because it is raining. Oh, sorry. Because after this festival, it's kind of a new era of music. Slade played at this festival, who obviously become very big, a very early incarnation of Genesis. Rod Stewart's here. Who else is here? Rory Gallagher's here, Joe Cocker, and they're all really big. Like Linda's Farn and Slade were really popular when they came on stage, and opposed to that, the Beach Boys, icons of the 60s, were booed and didn't have a very good reception. And I mean, the Beach Boys here, and it was freezing cold and raining, and it was a disaster, but we'll get to that as I get there. Long intro. Thanks for watching.
The fans have been arriving all week from many parts of Britain and abroad.
So I didn't say before, but I'm having a walk to where the festival happened. Those clouds are not friendly. We're in lockdown in England again, and it gets me out and have a little walk. I thought I'd talk to you about the festival. There's not a lot to see anymore of where it happened. I'll use before and after pictures to try and give you a better understanding. It's always been like a personal thing. I mean, I used to drive past this place on the way to work every day, and I would always go, oh, the Beach Boys played there. So music festivals are becoming very popular. The festival that happened here was 1972, and that's the year of the Night Assemblies Bill. And basically what that was trying to do was basically cancel music festivals forever. Music festivals happen in rural, quiet places, and people are pretty opposed to it. This festival had so much opposition to it. The guy that arranged this was Stanley Baker. Have I got his name right? I'll put it up if I'm wrong. He's a very famous actor. I'm not so good with 50s and 60s movies, I don't really know. Apparently he's very famous. He got a knighthood. Uninteresting, he was unable to get his knighthood. He is a sir, but he died before the Queen could do that swordy thing. But he fought strongly to get a festival here, and he was very opposed to that bill. He fought it, and he said, or the company that arranged this festival, which was his, said, music festivals are the greatest expression of live entertainment in Britain today. And I would think that statement is true in the year 2020. Wow, look at the sky. Oh. We might be in trouble. So Stanley Baker, again, if I'm wrong, I'll put his name up here, would have to get his helicopter into this area a lot of times to reassure, I'm going to get soaked, to reassure people that no damage will be caused during this festival. It's all for the greater good. Oh man, it is coming. I'll do this quick. 1971 they had a festival here as well, which was like a little quiet folk festival. James Taylor was the highlight. James Taylor loved it here. He said he would like to hang out in Bardney for 6 months. I've been to Boston, Massachusetts, and it's quite nice. I would say there, James. A little link. I've been to Boston to my run. I do all the landmarks. You don't need to go. It is it is chucking it down over there. Look at it. Oh man. And so 1972, 71 was a minor success. 1972, building on that, 4-day festival, the first 4-day festival since the Isle of Wight in 1970. Rod Stewart, Rory Gallagher, Joe Cocker, the Beach Boys, early version of Roxy Music, Slade, Linda's Farm, Santana, big deal. And it was a disaster. The weather, it was May Bank Holiday weekend, we are in deepest, darkest November, and the weather was like this apparently. Man, can you see that? And it was a washout the first couple of days. It was... I'm sorry, I'm getting very stressed about the rain. It's quite a nice view. It was a washout the first couple of days, but once it got going, more people turned up on the Saturday and the Sunday. I'll put a little link to the train station that I parked at to do this walk. I'll talk about that in there. I'll talk to you when the rain stops. Uno momento. So this is the old train station at Southrey. This is the old platform. All this would have been a train track. The last passenger trains departed this platform in 1970. Until then, it had been possible to travel from this peaceful village and be at busy King's Cross Station, London, in a little over 3 hours. So, you got to think, if there wasn't opposition, this is 71. The first festival happened in 72, it was bigger. And there must have still been train lines here, train tracks. And if people were in favour of the festival, you got to think they probably would have done something to get people direct from London to here. And then it's only a mile walk, and then we're at the main road where I just was. Like, not even a mile, like a quarter of a mile. So they could have easily just shipped people up this road, and it would have been good for the pubs and the businesses in this area. But I think they were just a sign that they were just weren't fully in support of the festival ever happening here. Hey, found an old abandoned thing. Added to the list of abandoned locations. Taking cover in here. Jeez. Oh my word. Welcome to England. Wow, it is not safe in here. I don't know what's worse. Oh. Remain calm. The festival was deemed a failure. It lost £25,000. In modern terms, that is $250,000. The festival never happened again. It would be a while. I mean, we have Leeds Festival, which is an hour and a half away. But as local festivals, those big pop festivals, we never had another one. We have a fairly good, we being Lincolnshire, had the Sinsel Bank one I mentioned in '66. We have a very famous one in Spalding in '67 where Jimi Hendrix played and stayed in Spalding, which I find crazy. Everyone's got to be somewhere, I guess. I'll do a vlog on that when I can. And we had Bardney 71 and Bardney 72. If this one in 72 was a success, it was, look, on Nissan Hut. Oh, wow. I don't see many of them these days. if the one in 72 was a success, it was strongly believed that the Rolling Stones would play here in the August, so May Bank Holiday weekend, they would have played the August, which would have been wild. It was an old abbey, and I've always, as I said, I drove by and go, oh, Beach Boys played in there. Well, doing research, how wrong I've always been. Oh, I get mushy for the world sometimes. Look how pretty it is. Isn't it so pretty? See the birdies, geese, I don't know. Well, they didn't actually put, it wasn't at the Abbey. Bardney Festival at Tupholme Abbey, as it's advertised in the day and how it's said in looking back in history as a keen observer. It wasn't, it was further down the road. I think Tupholme Abbey would have been the local landmark point.
So I thought I would help myself out a little bit. The Abbey is down where I'm pointing now, so we're further down there. The festival takes place up here, and I will try, as we go forward, to use this map as a little guide to tell us where we are.
So stories from the festival. Joe Cocker was off his little rocker and was pretty poor. Rod Stewart was at Key, wore a gold suit and was freezing cold. Santana were brilliant. Rory Gallagher stole it. And Nazareth had to be pleaded to stop singing and just do instrumentals because of the weather. And they didn't want anyone to get electrocuted. And only a few days before, or was it 18 months before, someone had been electrocuted. Somebody fairly high profile put his name at the top, had been electrocuted. So it was in everybody's mind that you can get electrocuted performing in the rain with electrical instruments. Who would have thought? Slade were brilliant. 1972 must have been a very early incarnation of Slade. Is that right? Not one of my favourites. Very early version of Roxy music were quite good. Beach Boys just weren't well received. But there are comments about the Beach Boys performing Las Vegas ragtime music in the middle of a field in Lincolnshire, which I find beautiful. George Harrison and Mick Jagger were meant to have been in the crowd, but they weren't seen. Now, we've got a clear view now. But they were never seen. I mean, George Harrison, personally, is probably my favourite rock and roll star of all time. Long vlogs on George Harrison in the future. The cast of Monty Python are here. And I think that's roughly it. So, no, there's a lot more. I would have put a poster up by now. Really pretty now the rain's gone. The old Abbey, if you're from this area, and you've seen the Abbey 10,000 times. If I show you this image, isn't that really weird? There's like a cottage there. Apparently it came down in not long after 76. I've got it in my head, it might have been 86, and the hall where the festival actually happened, which is further down. I'll walk there. There's a load of sheep. That got tore down at the same time. But this would have been a camping area. Car park was the field down, and I'll explain that a bit better when I get to the road. And my timings, if you're a regular subscriber, viewer, whatever, are of course off, because I'm meant to be at the Abbey by now. Speed up. And I don't know much history. Has it changed? No. Now, I don't know much history of the Abbey. I imagine Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries is what saw the end of it, and this is how it used to look. So that's the surviving wall. That's what we see now, and that's all that would have been here when the festival took place. So, Bardney Festival at Tupholme Abbey. This is Tupholme Abbey. Really not a lot to see. The image I said about the cottage, I haven't got it at hand, so I can't actually tell you where the cottage was. I imagined in my head it was here. I don't know the story about the cottage. I find it really weird, that view of the cottage. Sheep, lots of sheep. Yeah, so the old Abbey. So this would have been the old main entrance that the patrons would have used to get into the festival. If we look on the map, I think this is the best indication of where the big Great Western Express banner would have been, and they would have walked up there, and the stage was round to the left. So we're driving on where this part of the map, and all this would have been full of people walking up and down for the festival. Not overly sure I'm allowed up here, so bear with me. So when the festival was happening, this would have been the entrance for the performers, the talent, the musicians, and the staff of the day would have used this entrance. So the old stage and the old hall were there in front of those block of trees there. So if we look at the map, it all would have been in there. There's nothing there apart from private property, so it's really not worth it. But just behind there now, all just a farm. But yeah, the festival wasn't at the Abbey, it was in front of them trees where the old hall used to be, which is no more. And I will cut back to the main road. So I think, and I would love people to correct me if I am wrong, this black space down here with all the rubble and stuff would have been where the house is, and the rainbow flag would have been here. I don't know. I believe that, and this would have been the old entrance for all the rock stars to have come up. This would have been the what's the word I'm looking for? The main entrance for the rock stars, whereas the patrons would have been a bit further down.
Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed. It was a good video to research. If you've watched all the way, please hit the subscribe button and take care.